I love making something out of nothing. I'm not trained, but I am brave and determined. Of course, I could hire a professional, but DIY first. Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. This is episode 3 of the kitchen makeover. So this part of the makeover is the area where I start to get really anxious because it was somewhere within this time frame when I lost a lot of footage and I'm not really sure what I'm missing. So I'm going to share with you what I have and I'll try to fill in some of the gaps. I think that this part, which is cabinet making, it also makes me very anxious because I made a lot of mistakes, and so I'm going to share with you what those are as we kind of go through this footage, and I'm going to tell you what I would have done differently if I were to do it again, which in fact I am going to have to do it again because some of what I did in this episode it's going to be firewood. So let's get into it. So the first thing that you're going to see here is ripping down the plywood. So I bought plywood in the full 4x8 sheets, and I just got it from Home Depot. So this is going to be cabinet grade plywood. It works for what I, for my level of expertise, it works just fine and it's easily accessible. But I will say that some of the sheets that I got were not perfect, which was part of the problem, and that was the other part. So I ripped it down with this Craig jig. I think this is a rip cut jig. I really like this because I'm able to do up to 2 feet of a rip cut without using a table saw, and so it's really easy to use, really user friendly. You just have to be careful and you have to be mindful of how you run the saw across the wood, making sure that it stays straight and that everything is even, which you can see here. And then I took it over to my teeny tiny table saw. So this is a Ryobi table saw. It was the first table saw I got. It was the only one I had at this time, and I did upgrade at some point during this process because I needed to be able to cut bigger pieces, but this one worked just fine for what I was doing here. This is also another Craig jig. This is I don't know what you call it, the little holes in the side of the cabinet where you can put the little plug things and then put the shelf. Like right to hold a shelf bracket. Like that's what this jig is here, and so I got that specifically for this project. And I wanted to make the shelves in any of the upper cabinets, I wanted to make them adjustable because I'm just extra like that. So also my favorite form of attachment, which is kind of my only form of attachment, is pocket holes. Pocket holes work just fine for cabinets, so that's what I'm pretty much using on all of these cabinets. I like to sand all of my projects before I assemble. Just a lot easier to go ahead and sand the pieces while they're pieces before you attach them. And it's kind of hard to get into those little crevices and corners. So I like to sand everything before I assemble. I think these are supposed to be the upper cabinets, and yeah, they didn't turn out so well. Here, this is another Craig jig that I'm using. It's a corner bracket. It's really helpful to keep something at a 90-degree angle and to hold it there. So it's just kind of like an extra pair of hands to hold it at a 90-degree. And that's supposed to help keep it square. Keep it, in an actual square or rectangle, and not whatever you call that shape that goes this way. I kind of made some that go that way. And I think some of that may be because some of the wood I think was warped. I got a piece, I don't know why I did this. This is just a rookie mistake, but there was a piece of plywood that was kind of at the bottom of the stack that I was making on my cart that I knew wasn't perfect, but I was like, you know, hey, I'll just get it and then make a, you know, I'll do something with it. And I think I actually mistakenly used that in this project, so the wood was not straight. And if you don't have straight wood, you won't have a straight cabinet. So that was on me to not pay attention. If you see here in some of this footage, some of the wood looks bold. It looks like it's kind of bold like that. And I think some of that might be the camera lens. I was using my GoPro, I think, to film most of this, or maybe all of it. And it's a wide angle lens. However, I don't think all of that was the camera. I think that some of the wood was not straight and I didn't realize it at the time, which is also why some of the cabinets didn't work out. I like to seal the wood. I don't know if this is necessary, but I knew that this particular these pieces of wood were going to go under the sink as a base cabinet, and I wanted to waterproof the inside. You guys saw in a previous episode, the previous cabinet that was under the sink was basically completely destroyed because of water damage. And I don't want to have that problem again. So this is spar urethane that I'm spraying here to seal this wood on the inside of the cabinet, so that if any water does leak, it won't leak into the wood. It'll like just sit on top, and then that'll be easily cleanable, or you know, whatever. So that's what I decided to do, particularly on that cabinet with the spar urethane. And I feel like this might have been my first mistake. So you see this bottle of wood glue sitting here. Thinking back, I kind of wish I didn't use the wood glue, because you know, if you don't glue it, then if there's a mistake or if you want to change something, it's easily fixable. But if it's glued, I mean, you kind of have to like cut it apart or break it, tear it up to get it apart, usually if it's a good seal. And so that was the first mistake, because if I glue it, it's kind of harder to maneuver it and get it into square. If it's not in square, it's hard to change it or reconfigure it. And so I don't think, if I did this again, I don't think I would use wood glue again. Like I said, I'm not a professional, so, but I don't think you have to use glue on a cabinet. I don't think you have to, because you know, the connection points are strong enough, I think. I mean, if you guys know better than me, and if you think that wood glue is necessary, like leave it in the comment, give me some tips or whatever, because like I said, I do have more cabinets to build. The kitchen is not done yet, and I'm happy with the ones that are in there now, but I did make upper cabinets that I mean, they still in the garage. I just can't use them, and I don't know if I'll be able to. Maybe I can cut them up and repurpose some of the material, but I mean, this video, I pretty much wasted a lot of time by doing things that I wasn't able to use. So you see here, this is another 90-degree like a jig, I guess. It's it's not a clamp, but it's like 90-degree, I don't know what you call the thing. Anyway, it's supposed to help you make something be 90 degrees. So you can see here, I was really trying to make these cabinets the right way by trying to make sure they're square, but I don't know, I didn't do too good of a job with that. But so I clamped this on here, so that I was hoping that if I could clamp it at 90 degrees while the glue dries, then it would be correct, you know, at the end of the day. It didn't work out that way. Oh boy, this jig here, this is I mean, I should really have looked up the names of all these things, but this thing here is supposed to help with a rip cut. So it's supposed to like create a straight line. I don't like it. I'm sorry, Craig, but I don't like it. And I think this is a Craig jig, but it's supposed to clamp on each side of the wood and hold itself in place while you run the circular saw across it, and it's supposed to make a straight cut. What I don't like about it is that it was difficult for me to make it be straight. The only reason I did this is because I was watching a video and it suggested to make a cut along the side of the plywood before you make it a cut to your final depth, because they were saying that sometimes the edges of the plywood are not straight, and so you should cut off a little bit of the edge to make it straight. Well, I tried that and I made it even less straight. So if I had this to do all over again, I probably would not use this jig, at least not in this way, for this purpose. Maybe I will find some other use for it at some point in the future. I think it would have worked better to just get like an aluminum piece of material or some kind of straight edged piece. Maybe not wood, because you know wood can warp, but some kind of metal, aluminum or steel piece that I could then just clamp, so that way I can use a, what do you call the thing? I can use a square and then put that against it and even it out, and then clamp it down, and now I have a straight edge, an actual straight edge that I can use to run the circular saw across. So if I had to do it again, that's probably what I would do. So I guess I need to get an 8-foot piece of aluminum. Anyway, that's what I would do differently. Also, maybe I just wouldn't worry about that edge. And because I have had a good result from the rip cut jig that I have. And so I don't know why I was trying to just be extra. I don't know. I be listening to people too much and I guess not thinking for myself. So in general, making cabinets is really not that complicated, especially if you have, you know, straight wood and straight cuts. It's pretty simple. It's just making a box, you know, and you put some bracing inside of it. Pretty much that's a cabinet. So so I'm putting bracing here. This is bracing, and I still did you can notice the coloration on that. I think I did the spar urethane on those pieces on the inside as well. And then you just brace it at the top and the bottom. These are upper cabinets, so they are a square, but for the lower cabinets, I didn't do a top on them. I just did bracing at the top as well, since that's going to be covered up. But this is, I mean, this is just pretty simple, connected with pocket hole screws. This is where I started to, just looking at this footage just makes me sad. I worked so hard on this and I did it all wrong. So like I said, these are the upper cabinets, and I decided to put a backer on them, and that's where I went. I think that's where I went wrong, because I don't know, I don't think the back that I'm putting on here, I don't think it was square. I don't think it was square. So when I put it on the cabinet, I think I took the cabinet out of square to fit the back on, and you'll notice I had to clamp the sides of the cabinet because it was bowed. So when I put the back on, the sides were kind of sticking out a bit, so I clamped it to pull it back in. It was a lot. And then I glued it, which was my other mistake. I glued it down. So then in order to, if I wanted to fix that, it was gonna be super difficult. I would have to cut the wood, cut the back off, which would make the wood skinnier. And I mean, and then I just didn't have the, I don't know. So that's part of the problem. And just looking back at that, it's just like, oh, she thought she was doing all the right things and she was doing all the wrong things. So maybe this is overkill. I don't know, but I wanted to seal the wood on the upper cabinets as well. I was not sure how this thing was gonna work with wood butting up against each other. So I just sealed everything with this poly. I have a sprayer now, so if I did this again, I would probably just spray everything down to you know, cover it. But at this point, I was just using a foam brush and just, you know, did like one coat on all the surfaces so that, you know, if there was any moisture, even in the air, whatever, it just wouldn't go into this wood. And that was my goal. I was really concerned about that. And like I said, maybe I didn't need to be. I'm not a professional cabinet maker, so I don't know how they do it, but I was just like, I just want everything to be, you know, straight. Okay, so the other thing to think about with cabinets is, are they gonna be faceless or are they gonna have a face frame? So I decided to make faceless cabinets, meaning I don't have a face frame. And I decided to do that. I don't know what my decision making was. I think I didn't want to take up space with the face frame. Plus that's extra wood that you have to use to make that. So if you're not gonna have a face frame that's gonna front the cabinet, then you need to usually do edge banding, which is really simple to use. But I decided for this project, instead of edge banding, I went with the premium wood filler, and I put that across the front of the plywood so that would be concealed. And then, because I was planning to paint these, so I'd use the premium wood filler to fill in the front of the plywood to make a smooth surface that would then be able to accept the paint without you being able to necessarily see all of the ridges. Alright, so we've made it to clip number, We've made it to clip number 28 of 100. So I don't even know what all the rest of this footage is. Like I said, I lost a lot of footage. I think I lost 2 SD cards of footage, which in my mind represented months of work. And I'm not really sure what exactly was on that footage. I could not recover it. This hair right here, y'all see this? This hair is just doing its own thing. What's happening? Anyway, so I lost a lot of footage, which is part of the reason I haven't wanted to even share this footage, but I felt like I needed to, because if I just came into the project like halfway through, it would be like, what's going on here? So I wanted to show you how I got to this point where I am now and share some of the mistakes that I made, maybe prevent you from making the same mistakes if you ever tried a project like this. But I've learned a lot, and I think that when I try to go back into this and make the upper cabinets again, I'm smarter and wiser, and I have some different equipment now, so I think it'll probably work a little better. But yeah, I'm still really anxious about this. I'll be glad when I get through all of the footage, and that way I feel like I can, you know, have some closure and move on, because honestly, like, I was traumatized when I lost my footage. And again, I don't even know what's not here, because I have not looked at this footage yet. I'm looking at it as I'm editing, so we'll see how this goes. Anyway, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, go ahead and subscribe. If you want to see more content like this, follow my journey, learn with me as I try to navigate this whole process, and hopefully have fun, because I'm having fun, and I think that's the most important thing. So I guess that's it. I mean, I guess I'll see y'all in about 2 weeks with the next episode, and who knows what's gonna be in there. I don't know. I mean, we'll see. All right, y'all. Until next time. Bye.